How about 1990 is a good one?
Okay.
1990, Flair has already said it and quit the book, as you'll recall. I wrote his letter for him, told Herd, it, you promised me control. And
that was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that was in February, and then I followed in March, and then the Midnight Night tried to leave in May, but all the agents and everybody on the booking committee overruled Herd and voted unanimously to offer us a new contract, so we were stuck. So we were trying to make the best of it. So now Ole is booking because they've gone through another committee and then they brought Ole back. And as you will recall, Ole decided, well, Herd don't like him and I ain't going to die on that hill. So I'm just either going to beat him or not use him at all. So we had a lot more time off over that period of time. But for example, again, in the 10 days before my birthday, starting with September 7th, we were in Amarillo, Texas, against Hector Guerrero and Terry Taylor. $250 payoff. Again, we're on guaranteed contracts, but this shows that none of these towns are drawing any money. I don't even have the houses recorded. I wasn't interested enough to stay to the end of some of these shows to see what the fucking figure was. Then we were in Lubbock, Texas on the 8th, same thing. Fort Worth on the 9th, the payoff was worse. My contract payment that week, or that period, was $3,394. That meant for that 2-week period, they were $3,400 short on what they owed me just on the payoffs I had from the house shows. Then we came back and did Gainesville, Georgia TV on Monday the 10th. And then we were booked for Dayton, Ohio on the 11th, Canton, Ohio on the 12th, and Portsmouth, Ohio on the 13th. And I wrote here that I was pissed off, pissed in parentheses. I called them and said, fuck you, I'm sick. Because I was mad. And I didn't go. And they didn't care. That's how bad it was getting at that point. But then finally, I believe I talked myself into going back on the road and showed up in Columbus on the 14th, and as another $200 payoff. And then we were in Detroit, Michigan on the 15th of September, Brian. Detroit, Michigan, the house was $13,000. That was not 1,000 people. And we worked with poor Brian Pillman and Tom Zink. And then the next day we were in Hammond, Indiana. And that wasn't even $13,000, right? And again with Pillman and Zink. And so we're either being beaten like a drum, or a lot of times we would show up for tag matches with people, but the opponents wouldn't give a fuck enough to show up at this point, so they just have us in single matches. And nothing's going on, right? And I'm getting cranky. And then we show up on Monday, September 17th in Marietta, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, for another TV taping, because that's all the fuck we were doing at that point was these TV tapings. And then going to tours in some part of the country where nobody was fucking coming, right? But at least we're either off more, or we've only got one match a night, or, we're not killing ourselves because there's nobody there watching. But on my birthday, we get to Marietta. Guess how many matches we had in one night at a TV taping?
3.
5. Wait a minute, hold on. Well, let me make sure I'm right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I'm right. Because do you remember when they had the Friday night Power Hour on TBS and the Saturday night WCW show and Sunday night's main event? It was a Jim Ross idea, bless his little heart, that some wrestler would be chosen to try to run the gauntlet.
Yeah, you got to run the gauntlet. That's right.
And if he beat somebody on Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday night, he would win a goddamn cash prize or a brand new car or some fucking blowjob from, I don't know, whatever. And so on this night, they were taping not only the 3 or TBS shows for the weekend, but we were also booked in a dark match. And also, they were doing syndication and wanted to stand to work a single match. So, Bobby Eaton is running the gauntlet. On the Power Hour, he has a match with Tracy Smothers. And another, a baby face, right? Because we're fucking, at this point, we're heels again. And Tracy goes to come off the top rope, and I shake the rope, and Tracy falls, and Bobby pins him. So Bobby advances. And then on the Saturday night show, it's Bobby Eaton versus Ricky Morton. And they do a 15-minute Broadway. And then it's announced there's going to be a 5-minute overtime. And Stan comes to the ring and distracts the referee, and I hold the fucking tennis racket into the corner for Bobby to run Ricky, but Ricky shoves Bobby into it and then nails me and then crossbodies Bobby. But the referee turns around and sees me laying there. And as he comes to me, Stan gets up and Ricky grabs him and Bobby gives Ricky a knee in the back. And Ricky and Stan have a double knockout and Bobby schoolboys Ricky and advances. And then he advances to the Sunday night main event show where now it's Bobby Eaton versus Sid Vicious. And this was the worst Bobby Eaton match I've ever seen. And he tried his best, but it was Sid. And Sid went over, obviously. The whole thing was to get Sid over and to have Bobby provide 45 fucking minutes of goddamn programming over the weekend in one night. And I mean, Sid was so stiff and so fucking fired up at himself at that point when he was so green. He did the deal where he shoved me, and he shoved me so hard I was flying so far back. I did what you never do because I was panicked. I'd never gone this fast before, and I put my hands behind my back to catch myself and almost hyperextended my elbow from a fucking chest shove, right? So Bobby had to put him over. Then we also, Stan, as I mentioned, had a singles match in syndication with Terry Taylor where Terry sunset flipped him and beat him. And then we had a dark match against Rick and Scott Steiner, where we did the same finish that we had done in the Meadowlands in August when we dropped the U.S. Tag Team title to them. And that was the main event dark match. So 5 fucking matches in one night in Marietta at the Cobb County Civic Center. And then that week we were back in Jasper, Georgia, and Rock Hill, South Carolina did a $3,000 house. That means that the ticket prices that WCW was charging at that point, they didn't have 250 people.